the change that business owners must make if we are to create a world of abundance. Welcome to today's episode. My name is Tom Rolley, and I have completed E-Myth. This has been my second reading of this. I read this book many, many years ago, and coming back to it now has been a very interesting experience. It's been a great experience to look at what I completely did not understand when I read it the first time. And now, having read it maybe 15 years later, suddenly seeing with very different eyes what Michael is referring to. And in the end of this book, he actually speaks of business and small business as an expression of meaning, of creating meaning in a business owner's world. That by running a successful small business, that this is a worthy goal or target for one's life. That the creation of a business that has transformed from an idea through to a real living business that works on systems and the people work in those systems to get the work done, that this is a worthy calling for life. And it's an interesting time for me because I tend to read multiple books at once. I usually have 2 or 3. And another book that I've been covering is Killing Sacred Cows. Now, Killing Sacred Cows is about the financial myths of our world. And the fundamental idea is that there is a choice that each of us must come to between scarcity and abundance. That's right. Every day as you go out in the world, you are making a choice. Is there enough and a world of abundance, or is there not enough and this world of scarcity? Now, this is important because in this book, he speaks of the 2 competing major philosophies that went through the 20th century, one of communism, one of capitalism. And from my understanding of history, communism hasn't really worked that well. I look at North Korea, don't really want to live there. But capitalism has played out in an interesting way as it continued to develop into advanced Western cultures such as Australia, where I live, or America, or UK, or Europe. It seemed like there was an increasing problem where corporations, particularly mega corporations, the big players, and government were kind of ending up pretty ingrained, that there was possibly some cronyism or potentially even corruption going on. Politicians traditionally have not been well known for their ability to tell the truth, and their capacity for lying is usually at least what I think of when I think of politicians. Yeah, they lie and then they don't meet their targets and then they have to lie about that, and it's just all these lies. So capitalism has not played out perhaps as its ideal or its potential could have. And so Garrett Gunderson, the author of Killing Sacred Cows, offers a third alternative: free enterprise. Free enterprise, where the role of government is not to take taxes and distribute wealth and kind of take money from the corporations or however that plays out, but rather to maintain a level playing field. That it doesn't matter whether it is a giant mega corporation or it's an individual, that the level playing field is there. And he suggests, and I don't think we've ever had an example of this, but he suggests that in this case, 80% of people would operate as business owners. So either individuals operating their own business or perhaps smaller businesses where everyone's free to trade with who they will. And perhaps there are still mega corporations and there's still a role for government. But what struck me is this: if this is going to come to pass, if we're going to choose a world of freedom and abundance, then business owners are going to have to get a whole lot better at business. And so tying in the ideas of Michael Gerber, that a good business or a great business is one that is run effectively, run as almost as a meditation or an experience of finding meaning in the work itself. It almost seemed to have a spiritual quality to it. But underpinning all of E-Myth and Michael Gerber's work is this idea that systems are critical, which strikes me as 100% true. I was building a new system today, and many people would look at this system and go, why did you even bother? Like literally it is answering 10 questions, or 11 questions actually, out of a great book called Copywriting Secrets. If you're in business and you need help with copywriting, then go to that book, Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. And the idea was to take the 10 questions and just fill them in. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but why would I want that as a system? Well, next time I come round to it, I don't need to find the book. I don't need to remember where it was. I just need to deploy that system. And there's only one process in it, and it says, complete the template. Now, one of the rules of System.io is that you copy to use. So it's make a copy of that template and then use that so that the original template remains preserved, ready for another usage of this. Now, this is an example of a system that is used relatively infrequently. I'm personally using it at the moment because I've gone through and I've created a new avatar and a new problem and possibility experience for that avatar, where there's a problem that they have and there's a possibility that it could go to, and the solution is the offer. And then looking at that offer and then going to the copywriting book, and they're like, well, why would I buy that? And by answering these 10 questions, then I have an asset for my business. I can then go and take that into my webinar or my product launch formula or my whatever way that I'm selling, a one-to-one sales experience, whatever that particular methodology of selling is. But the foundational work is done. This is marketing. This is the marketing work that then underpins the sales experience, underpins the advertising, and even underpins the fulfillment experience. So even though it barely seemed worth it, the advantage is now I have a tracking of that work. I can easily find it. I don't have an orphan template that I'm like, well, where does this fit in? I know exactly where it fits in. It fits in the system and it gets executed by the process. There is no orphan template. There is no orphan process. It all fits together in the system. And even though this is an extremely simple system, I can now find it. I can look at its deployment. I can search for it easily. I can locate the process. I can look at where it's up to. And I can come back and find that completed template very easily. And so the work now, it wasn't much, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. But next time I come to that, I don't need to remember where it was in that book. Like, this is powerful. Know that your capacity to take a book or a course or a seminar or whatever you paid for, that training experience, and turn it into something that no longer requires you to have access to that resource anymore, that it gets built into a system. This is powerful. This is an expression of this idea that's come through me. I don't think I came up with this stuff. I'm going to put it up to God. Like, God downloaded it into me. That's certainly what it felt like. But as I go along and I start to build out system after system after system, that I am no longer required to actually do these. I had my VA just deploy. I was like, can you go and execute this system? And he went along. He's like, yep, everything's built out. Great. This is done. This is done. This is done. This is done. I'm like, fantastic. It's overwhelming as the business owner to have to do everything in your business. And if you just get people to do it, then you will run into the problem of variable results. Without documented systems and documented processes and templates that get copied to be used and the tracking of all of this, you will only be able to get so far in business before the inherent overhead of management of people begins to kick in. And this is a problem that cannot be solved by adding more people, because the problem is management of people. You've got to work out a way that you can manage your people. And the answer is in Michael Gerber's book. It's in Sam Carpenter's book. It's on every business book that speaks of systems. It's like, use the systems. Put your people into the systems and get them to do the work that way. And that is what the System.io method does. It allows you to easily create systems so that you can make more money, you can save significant amounts of money, your business becomes organized. It almost becomes, in fact, it does become a joy to be in business. Why? Because that expression of your idea, that original vision and passion that came through when you first decided to go into business is actually something that can be achieved. And you can go again, or you can sell, or you can go on holiday and take the business profits, that you can cope with illness and sickness and headhunting. All of these things are possible when you work on systems. And the problem has been, well, how do you create these systems? And that I call the Holy Grail. System.io uses the magic board, which is how I run the systems, how you can run your systems. It's very consistent. It's the same structure over and over. For every system, the structure is the same. And this means that you can move people around. You just have to train them once on how to use the structure, and then suddenly they're like, magic board, great. Let's deploy the magic board. But the next level on that is the Holy Grail, the system that can create systems. Do you need a system to do this or that? Whatever it is, you can create these. I can create them. It's not a miracle skill. This is not brain surgery. This is a learnable skill. This is a learnable structure. If you would like to experience business run this way, then my invitation to you, your next step is to head to systemio.dev. That's systemio.dev. Go through the training there. You've got to put your name and your email address in. And look at how I think in terms of systems and see whether it opens up a little pearl of wisdom for you, some insight into like, oh, okay, wow, I can see the power of these things. That's my hope, that we can, if we are to move to a world where many more people are operating businesses, they have to be able to run systems. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart. Even a solopreneur, the difference between a solopreneur trying to do all the work themselves without systems and trying to do it with systems, chalk and cheese. Absolutely chalk and cheese. Let alone if you can actually scale and work with other businesses to fill parts that you don't want to build. You're like, okay, we need the accounting piece handled. Bookkeeping business will integrate with them. Accounting will integrate with them. Perhaps you even want to outsource like running of ads. And you're like, okay, great. Let's work with a marketing company to deploy our ads and track our ads. But if we're all working on systems, then the effectiveness of this entire thing goes up by a huge magnitude. Like, it's literally difficult to imagine how you are operating without systems. Once you see how it works, it's like, oh my goodness, this is exciting. So if this is something calling to you, if you're at that stage where you're like, either you are having the chaos of trying to manage people or you can see that it's coming, then the invitation, head over to systemio.dev. I hope you got a lot of value out of today. I certainly enjoyed making today's video for you. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow as we continue to explore the power of systems to create results. I'll see you then.